In today's Core of the Bible Daily Insight, the title is How to Change the World, or at least Your Corner of It. And the main thought is that integrity has the ability to influence others through maintaining a set of internal commitments that will not be shaken under any circumstance. And we're taking the information from Daniel chapter 1. And so this is what the passage says. During the 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign in Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And then the king ordered Ashpenaz, this chief of staff, to bring to the palace some of the young men of Judah's royal family and other noble families who'd been brought to Babylon as captives. The king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine from his own kitchens, and they were to be trained for 3 years, and then they would enter the royal service. But Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king. He asked the chief of staff for permission not to eat these unacceptable foods. So one of our admonitions from Yeshua is to demonstrate virtue and purity that exceeds those who are merely following external commands in Matthew 5:20. Sometimes these external commands take the form of direct instruction. And sometimes these commands come in the form of allowances or tolerations of our culture that would violate the purity of our relationship with God. We must resist both forms of this type of cultural influence. Now, in the case of Daniel and his friends, they were removed from their home and brought to a completely different culture under a new political regime. Even though they were favored within this new dynamic, Daniel and his friends, in their integrity, resolved not to be negatively influenced by this turn of events and to remain loyal to God. The Hebrew culture that Daniel had been raised in had very specific dietary requirements in order to maintain faithfulness to the Torah, or the instruction of God for his people. Given the freedom to eat all types of foods and meats in his new environment, Daniel was committed to remain faithful to those requirements at any cost. So back to the passage in chapter 1, it says, Now God had given the chief of staff both respect and affection for Daniel. But he responded, I'm afraid of my lord the king, who has ordered that you eat this food and wine. If you become pale and thin compared to the other youths your age, I'm afraid the king will have me beheaded. So Daniel spoke with the attendant who had been appointed by the chief of staff. Please test us for 10 days on a diet of vegetables and water, Daniel said. And at the end of 10 days, Daniel and his 3 friends looked healthier and better nourished than the young men who had been eating the food assigned by the king. So we see that Daniel and his friends were able to demonstrate to this chief of Nebuchadnezzar's staff that God was able to meet their needs, even if it meant going against the cultural mandate of royal rations. See, integrity has this ability to influence others through maintaining a set of internal commitments that will not be shaken under any circumstance. And this is a highly valued commodity among all people because it's rarely seen in common practice. So it's our obligation as believers to be so thoroughly committed to our faith that through our integrity we become the influencers of those around us rather than allowing them to influence us. Well, I hope today's insight was helpful for you. Please visit coreofthebible.org for more resources. And thanks again for listening today. Appreciate it. Take care.